Footy and Frothies, Barney and Daggy with you to get stuck into our awards show. We've also got round 2 of the 2023 finals to preview. So let's get stuck into it, I suppose.
Absolutely.
What's happening? Any change last hour since our last small talk?
Last 5 minutes? No.
Cool. It's pretty average end, so we'll just move on. We've got a bit of accountability too, because we'll go and look back at our tipping efforts over the course of the last 12 months. And, bask in our own glory, I suppose. But we're going to kick off by previewing what's coming up this weekend. So we've got another 4 o'clock game, Saturday Arvo, which suggests to me that my deck might be calling. So, as usual, Barney, you're welcome to come sit on my deck.
Absolutely.
It's a nice deck. I've got to clean it, actually. It's not a nice deck these days, but it's a different story. Don't tell the landlord. We've got Roosters. Yeah, Roosters heading to Melbourne, though, to kick off Friday night, 10 to 8. And for the Storm, they line up like this. Meaney, Warbrick, Seve, Olam's back in. Remus Smith, Cam Munster, Jerome Hughes, Kamakamika, Grant, Welsh, Loureiro, Katoa, King. The bench is McDonald, Eisenhuth, Nelson, and Tarek Sims. For the Roosters, they have some big outs here, but Teddy is the postilion and captain. Ponga, Momirovski, Allen, Paulo, Keary, Walker. Forwards, Fletcher Baker. Brandon Smith starts. Lindsay Collins, Sia Wong, Nat Butcher, Radley, and in the bench is Sandon Smith, Egan Butcher, Terrell May, and Guzzy Crichton, who is rumoured to be on the way to rugby. We didn't mention that.
Yes, I heard that.
Supposedly, that's where he's off to. He's getting a nice payday out of his last 5 years or whatever. More power to him, I suppose. What are you doing down at Amy Park?
He hasn't really been able to get a start recently.
No.
So, with more power to him. Concerns for mine, obviously Storm have lost a few outside backs, but it's nothing compared to the carnage that was poured upon the poor Roosters out of the weekend. You look at some of the ins coming in to replace a few of the injuries from the Storm. I don't think they lose much out of what they had from the team list that was out there last week. Justin Olam comes back in. You've got Remus Smith coming in for Coates. While it's a little bit of a downgrade, it's nothing like the likes of having to put Corey Allen and Paul Momirovski into your back line and taking out Manu and Suali'i. I think this really comes down to Roosters need to be able to, I know what they did against the Sharks with their scramble defence, I think they're going to have to do the same thing for just as long in this game. And if they don't, if they can't control the forward pack of the Storm early in this game, I think it could end up. I'm going to stay with 1 to 12 just because it's a finals game, and you saw the amount of consistency and just grit and determination that came out of the Roosters last week, and that should be able to keep the scores close enough. But I think the Storm win, and they win pretty comfortably, 1 to 12. Jerome Hughes looked like the only bloke who was going to make a dent last week against the Broncos, so I'm going to go with him for man of the match in this one up against this depleted Roosters side. And I'm going to go with Eli Katoa to score the first try off a little grubber or a short ball from Jerome Hughes to set up on that right-hand edge. An upset wouldn't surprise the Roosters if they do continually frustrate the Storm. We saw what happened with them last week against the Broncos getting frustrated. And some of their spine losing their head and not being very productive at all. And that's probably the Roosters' biggest hope, is just to hold them out for as long as possible and break their will and get them at the back end of the game. But, yeah, for mine, Storm 1 to 12, Hughes man of the match, Elise Katoa first try.
If you were going to make the case for the Roosters, and the case is there to be made a little bit, only because I think that the forward pack is actually
a little bit stronger
to the Roosters.
Yep.
From where some of these players have come from and what they've produced this year,
especially
week
when
in,
you
week
get
out,
into the bench,
and the form they've found with Collins and Radley in the last few weeks. I think they shade this forward pack battle,
and the interchange rotation.
As you said, if they can, their go is to pin them and make them work, and just keep hitting them, and hopefully scramble comes into play. And you throw Butcher, May, and even Crichton did have to go and post himself out in the edge there, and was
he had a
fine
couple of
last
nice
week.
runs early before he got shifted to centre. Yeah.
So from that point of view, I think the Roosters win that matchup. The problem I have, one, I think the gas tank's starting to, maybe that old chestnut is starting to, for both teams. And for the
Yes,
record,
absolutely.
if these teams were full strength, I'll tip the Roosters because I think Melbourne are going in a similar vein. But
100%.
in this, it's not just the three they've lost; it's the fact that those three were the heart and soul of their comeback. The fact that they, Billy Smith, Manu, and Swiley, them getting good ball in good position, is what drove the comeback of the Roosters this last 6 weeks.
100%.
And you've taken all three out. So this is now a big job. It now goes back to a land where they can just double team Teddy, track Teddy around the field, and put pressure on someone
Really
else.
pressure the halves.
It has to be a game of the life from one of those halves for them to win this game. Unfortunately, I don't think it'll happen. I think Melbourne will win 1-12. I think Olam coming back in is very good, and he'll have a point to prove because I believe he's just dropped his last few weeks. So matching up against Momorowski, who has won grand finals and done a decent enough job.
Absolutely.
I'm going to tip him for first try scorer, and I'm just going to go with Munster man of the match because I'm going to say this is a little bit too bad to be true last week, and there's been a bit of public commentary about him going missing. I think we know he doesn't go missing too often in games like this, so let's see him bounce back. And then 4:05 Saturday afternoon, the Knights head across to Go Media Stadium. Again, there was some commentary around today about the fact they could have gone to Eden Park, Eden Gardens in India, Eden Park, I believe, and sold another 20,000. But they said no, this is their home ground and stuck there. For the Warriors, at the moment, their lineup reads like this: Charles, Nickel, Cockstag, Dallin on the wing, Rocco Berry, Pompey, Montoya, Tamari Martin, Sean Johnson named, I believe, has to complete the captain's run or something similar. Fanua Blake, Egan, Barnett, Ford, Niokore, Tohu. The bench is Walker, Tavanga, Siren, and Curran. For the Knights, Ponga has been named. I haven't seen a fitness update from last week. I assume you play. Dominic Young, Gay Guy, Best, Marzu, Gamble, Adam Clune comes into the halves. Saifidi, Crossland, Thompson, Frizzell, Lucas, Elliott. The bench is Mann, Daniel Saifidi, Hetherington, and Matt Croker. I'm going to stick with the fairy tale here. I'm going to stick with the Knights going across to New Zealand and knocking off the Warriors. I did say 2 weeks ago I'd only do this if Hastings was fit and playing, and Fitzgibbon missing as well doesn't help. But Dylan Lucas has been great. This last month.
He's
so
very, very good.
The halves are a concern, but I think, and if Johnson is out, I'll double down on this. I think simply there's more points and more strike power on the Newcastle side. That it's the edges again, which scare me. Try scoring from all four of those backline, or five of the backline from the Knights. And Ponga being on the field will be the architect of all that. I think he is man of the match again. First try scorer, I'm going to go with Bradman Best, a pair in from where it has been lately. And I just think, this could end up being a similar game to that game we saw the other week, 28-26 or something similar. And fairy tale keeps going. That said, it's a big job to go over there at Go Media, in front of essentially go away from what they had in their favour last week because it was a sold-out Newcastle rabid fan base. Now they're going to go there and cop the same. This will be quite an effort, and I'm half regretting my life choices again. But you're going to, I'm sure, tell me this forward pack battle is going to tip you the way of the Warriors, and I would not talk you out of that opinion.
That's 100% what I'm going to tell you. I think they'll be rabid through the middle of the field. I think they'll really go out of their way for the first 20 or 30 minutes to continually pressure the middle of the field of this Newcastle team. And you saw the way that Canberra were able to really pressure the middle for Newcastle, cause errors early in the match. And even without a couple of class players in that middle of the field for Canberra, I think the likes of Barnett, Fanua, Blake, Tohu, Harris are going to cause no end of problems through the middle of the field for Saifidis, the Crosslands of the world, and Adam Elliott in the middle of the field. And I can see them probably scoring 2 or 3 barge over tries to start this match, to be honest. I think they're going to go with an absolute plan to be continual and direct and physical through the middle of the field and try to really blow that front door away. They've got some guys out there. Sean Johnson doesn't play. I'm probably not backing them, to be honest, just because I think they will need 1 or 2 tries from the outside backs because Newcastle will be able to put some points on, which will challenge what they do in the middle of the field. They'll probably be able to provide enough points with their outside backs as what New Zealand will through the middle of the field. And then it'll come down to New Zealand being able to add a bit of polish to what they've done once they've kicked the front door down and score some tries out wide, with the likes of Sean Johnson linking up with Dallin, with Tenny Zalesniak, Marcelo Montoya, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see Tamari Martin maybe scoot through for a try himself as well with a bit of footwork on a broken edge in defence. Both teams, with your old gas tank thing, they're both sort of running a little bit low too, to be honest. That would have taken a lot out of Newcastle last week, whereas I think the Warriors sort of pared it back after about 20 minutes, half an hour, and there was still some blokes putting in some efforts, but I think a big part of that team took the second half off to try and freshen up for this one. A fresh Sean Johnson should be enough to get the New Zealand team home. 1-12, we'll give him man of the match, and I'm going to go with Fanua Blake to score the first try.
Very nice. We generally do what's got us frothing and that sort of thing. I don't, both games have probably got us frothing, so it's a fair enough question.
Yep.
But looking forward to seeing, we saw it last week in Newcastle, looking forward to seeing just how that atmosphere and what happens over in New Zealand comes through.
100%.
And
I've got Marzu for the second try. So maybe put money on both of them for first and second try scorer. Fanua Blake or Marzu, because it wouldn't surprise me if Newcastle do score first with Marzu out on the edge there.
Beautiful. That is our wrap-up of what's ahead